Alright guys, I'm getting started on the interior here, and I just wanted to show you some things. The seat detail is amazingly good, and I wanted to film some of it before I paint because I think that a lot of the detail is going to fill up with paint. But I mean, look at that engraving there. And what's amazing is they could have definitely just cloned the two sides, but the wrinkle patterns are different on each seat. See, like there in the pad in the front, everything's pretty much smooth, and this one is pretty much wrinkled, you know, simulating the way the stitching pulls the leather. And here's the backs here. Just great. The same thing, the two sides are different, and I haven't cleaned these up yet. I'm getting all the flash off of there, but I'm afraid the paint's going to fill all that up. I wanted to definitely get this on film before we get there. By the way, this kit has been reissued, or the basic kit. This one, of course, is the turbo, and the turbo is not re-released. It's the regular one, and it's worth every penny. It's like $35, and this is the type of thing you'll see in there. But the seats are very well detailed. It looks as though they're going to recline. I'm just looking at those little pegs there on that seat back there, and then there's the seat base. And something that I didn't realize when I first went through this kit is that there is also a second set of front seats. They give you the option for these, I'm trying to remember, I think they are Recaro, and the detail on them is just as good. Very impressive. Looks like there's speakers in the headrests for back in 1980. That's pretty neat. And so the question comes into play, which seats to use. I think that I can't make that decision yet, so I'm going to prepare and paint all of them and then make the decision at the end. But there was only one way to document the... Boy, I hope the paint doesn't fill it up. I'm going to be very careful, put a whole bunch of very light coats to try to preserve as much of that detail as I can. And I am using a satin paint. I'll reveal that probably in the next scene. But, okay, there you go. Alrighty guys, everything's painted. At least preliminarily painted, and I'll get to that in a second. So what it was, this is the paint right here, the 2X Satin Rust-Oleum, and the color name is Satin Fossil. And I gotta admit, I always think of Rick Zink when I read that color, just because the skeletal remains. I don't know, something, skeleton, fossil, something like that. Anyway, every time I read that, I think of you, Rick. But I went with this color because, oh, I wish I had brought the box down. I'm gonna have to zoom in. It looked like it matched that color, and even looking at pictures on the internet, it looks as though it was a standard color, and so that's why I went with that. But now, something that happened here, even being a satin paint, you can see it's kind of glossy. And it was going along pretty well until I started, this is 3 coats, and on the 3rd coat I put it on a little too thick. And when you put satin paint on thick, it gets glossy. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to line these all up again and shoot them with one more light coat to get them back to satin. And that should be no problem. Now the dashboard, I will probably leave that exactly like it is, because I think that's pretty darn accurate. The door panels, I think I will missed it with. It's just a little too shiny. And oh yeah, these visors somewhere in there. I have to do those over again because they're going to be showing. And as you can see there, they have those ejector pin marks. And I wasn't thinking, so I've got to do those over again. I'm also going to have to do these seat backs over again because it was so dark. When I glued it together, there is supposed to be a seam there. There is supposed to be a line there, even on the real seat. But it's not supposed to be a gap. And the seats are so dark that I thought it was sealed. I didn't realize there was an opening there. So I'm going to have to fill that and clean that. And yeah, you see that's I've got the paint on my thumbnail. So we're going to have to fix that. And it happened on both of them. Look at the size of the gap there. I mean, really, it was so dark that it looked good. But it's I can't live with that. So that's got to be done over with. And so it'll seem like a flash of the eye to you all, but for me it'll be a number of days probably. And then if you recall, this kit comes with a carpet set that you have to cut and glue in there. I probably shouldn't have painted all that because it's not going to stick good to it, but we'll see what I need to do there. But anyway, the next scene should be everything kind of corrected. Okay, and there it is. It has actually been probably 2 weeks since the last scene, possibly more. Anyway, as you can see, I've corrected the seam and the paint job. They look pretty nice now. And so the front seats have been completely sanded down, the backs anyway, and filled and wet sanded and then repainted properly. And then all the parts that were too shiny got resprayed, like the door panels, sprayed with a mist coat to make them satin again. The visors were sanded all the way down to get rid of those sink marks. Sink marks? I mean ejector pin marks. Try to say that 5 times fast. But anyway, the seats are not glued in yet because I have to get the carpet in there, but they do their reclining thing. See there? Not reclining, but oh, somebody will correct me. So that's going to work, and that's really good. The next trick is to get the carpeting in there. Now this is the carpet set that came with the kit. It's just a square. It's got a sticky back, although after, I don't know how old this kit is, it may or may not be sticky or can't be trusted to stay sticky, but I'm going to try to get it in there. I remember there being a guide somewhere in the instructions, I think a cutting guide where you hold it up against it and trace or cut. Also, it looks like they're going to go in the bottom of the door as well. I may be wrong. See there? There's kind of a carpet pattern there, so I'm guessing that is carpeting. And we will see. Well, we will see in the next scene, I guess. Okay, so I found the pattern. It is on the last page of the instruction sheet. And basically, it's roughly the right size. And I guess you cut those out and then place them on here, trace around them, and hope for the best. There's not a chance this is going to work, but I'm going to try it. So on the other side of that, So to get those patterns out, I'm going to have to ruin that nice picture of that cobra. That's a shame. Oh, but I have the kit. I have that kit anyway. Anyway, let's see what happens. Okay, so here's the direction I decided to go with this. Now, the instructions told you to just take that pattern and tape it onto the carpet and then cut through both of them at the same time. But me not trusting that it's even going to be close to the right shape, I certainly wasn't going to do that. What I wanted to do is make a stencil. So I cut it out, and I imagine you all can tell, for obvious reasons, I left these pieces on there so that the centerpiece would be where it's supposed to be, so that I would have a stencil. And here's what I've got. It looks like it does actually fit pretty good. This is in two pieces because it's, you know. Anyway, the main carpet pieces are going to fit pretty well. This is going to be exactly what they look like. And then, of course, the centerpiece is going to look more like that. It's going to be one big piece. Because as much as I'll trace it with the stencil onto the back of the carpet piece, you got to remember to do that. So you're not going to basically, when you flip this over, you can be drawing on the back. You also got to flip this over, and then there's your pattern, so that it will be correct when you. So it'll be exactly like these, right? I think so. Anyway, that's what I'll be doing next, and gosh, cross your fingers. Okay, and this is what that looks like. I have kind of confirmed it in my mind that that is the correct way. So I will now take a marker and draw the patterns onto here, and then when I'm cutting it out, I will just join that extra section there and make the piece. So here we go. Okay, so here we go with the kind of a double confirmation, and this is really more for me than anybody that's watching, because I'm nervous about this step. So basically you have the short side and the short side and the long side and the long side, and they're completely backwards, so that when you flip it over and stick the carpet on, they will be correct. Unless the laws of physics stop working. So now here we go. Okay, guys, it looks like it's gonna work. The pieces are matching up where they're supposed to be. Now I still have the backing paper on these. I'm assuming they're stickers. Because I'm not quite ready to stick it down, and I'll show you why in a second. But I mean, look at the fit. It's actually going to wrap around there and fit nice. Really surprised and happy about that. Let me show you what it looks like with the seats on there. I've already been playing around, mocking these up a little bit, as we all do. And yeah, look at that, you know, it's starting to look like something. I can't get this centerpiece on there without interfering with the seats right now, but you get the idea. Oh, yeah, so what they're saying is, in this step, right below that one, they're saying you might want to cut out the areas. Sorry, we're having some kind of storm outside. But you might want to cut out the areas for the seats to glue down. And there's really no might about it. There's no way to glue them down if you don't. So I've got to cut those out, and then I'll stick them down. Just testing on these extra pieces, it looks like the sticky stuff is still sticky. So I'm going to try to stick them on there and see what happens. In other news here, I looked up on the screen went blank. Come on. Okay, see there? The 1980 Firebird in that paint scheme did have carpeting at the bottom, and it is this carpeting. It's this color. So I wasn't crazy. We've got kind of a carpet pattern down there at the bottom of the door, and I've got plenty of this stuff left over, so I'm going to put them in. I think I'm going to put them in. I'm going to wait till the end of the whole thing, because if you're looking how close it is there, one little piece of carpeting could be the thing that stops you from shutting the door. So we'll see what happens there when I get to that part. But I'm going to save these pieces, and we'll probably do that at the end if we're going to do it. Okay, what next? Okay, yeah, we cut the seats out and we stick everything on. Okay, so here's the dilemma I'm running into. Now, if I cut the carpeting out so that the seats are directly on the floor pan, like over on that side, there's just not a lot of room right there, and that center console piece of carpeting is not even in yet, so that's going to push the seats over even farther. So that is going to have them just right up on there, and that is going to be I really don't know how I would go about trying to mark that and cut that and so on. I have a temptation to just glue the seats right onto the top of the carpeting, but hopefully you're seeing from this angle that puts the seat up a little bit higher. See the top of the seat back there? And I just don't know if that's going to sit right. Don't know what to do. And then of course a little bit the same thing with that back seat. Ultimately I'm going to have to figure out a way to cut them and get down there. We will see. Okay, I've figured out what I'm going to do. You remember I had these stencil cutouts here. I can utilize those. So what I've done here is I have put one, the correct one for this side, down into where it goes, and folded it to make sure it's nice and flush, exactly how the carpet set would go in there. And then I was able to burnish where the little contact points were, the locator parts for where the seat goes. And so now I can press that onto there, or hold it there while I trace it, and then cut out the paper, and then put the paper up against the actual carpet piece, and cut out a pretty close to accurate representation of what it's supposed to be. So that's how I'm going to do that. Nervous about it, but I think it's going to work. All these things I've never done. Okay, so I finally got smart about it, and I separated the bottom part of the seat so that I could place it onto the stencil and trace it so that I could get these impressions. Now I realized that I'm going to have to go out a couple of millimeters and redraw it on the outside so that the the line is on the outside instead of the inside, but this gives me something really to go with. And then these little back pieces here, I put them in, and you get the idea, so that I could draw those. And so cut them out and trace them onto the carpet pieces and see what we get. Okay, there we go. I've got the patterns transferred over, getting ready to start that cutting. As you can see, basically you just got to turn them over because they will be reversed for the reverse part of the carpet set. And then A little bit of challenging cutting on the back of the carpet, and I don't know how well the weave is going to separate, but we're about to find out, and just showing how that is happening, and the next scene will show whether this was success or failure. Okay, so this is the way they came out. I'll try to zoom in a little bit there. Now, I'm going to call it a success because it's my first time doing it. As expected, okay, so when we got into the thinner parts of it, like you probably saw, that part was going to be too thin, and of course the the sticky part tried to come up as I cut along there, and I was cutting along there with the did not even try. It's not going to work with the number 11 blade. You got to use this curved blade, and in the tighter areas you can kind of rock it, and that's what it's meant to do. It cuts, even on a straightaway, it cuts quite a bit better on like a cutting mat. But when you get into a tight area like a corner, then you kind of got to rock it like a pizza cutter, and it works better. But even at that, it didn't get all the way through quite well, and you see part of the weave did separate there, which is what I was afraid of. But you know, we will that'll be right up against the bottom of the seat, and hopefully not very noticeable. And on the second one, I decided to say forget the knife idea, and I went and I used the scissors. These are kitchen shears. If anybody has not discovered kitchen shears for model building, for like cutting out decals and tight corners and things like that, kitchen shears work fantastically well. And that's what I used on the second one. I gave up on the idea of even trying to cut the thin part, and that I will just add a little piece there because I kept all the scraps. Kept all the scraps. This is good stuff over here. And then I cut the whole thing with the scissors. And you can see it can cut a nice tight corner very clean, so you don't get that separation on the weave. And that's how I did that. So these should be pretty accurate inserts, and the scary part is coming up now, where I peel off the backing and stick it down, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so here's where we are on this. It works. It is a lot more work, I would say, than flocking. Or, you know, you have your option to just paint it in a flat black or a flat brown, and then that would be kind of the easiest way to simulate carpet. A better way would be flocking, where you put down the gooey stuff and then you know, drop all the little filaments on there, and then it makes carpeting. Then you'll have this other idea with sticker carpet sets. Now, I've just shown that it can be done. It is complicated and a pain in the neck, and then once you're all done, your results are okay. After all that, I did have all kinds of trouble with things lining up. As you can see here, missed by a little bit over there, and the opening for the seat missed by quite a bit, and I ended up having to cut it in half and then cut a little bit more out to give myself some more space to put it on. Now, it is nice because you get this thick carpet. Now, in scale, this is like shag carpet, and cars didn't come with shag carpet, so in scale that's too thick. But it is nice to have a thick weave like that, which you can't really get with flocking. I mean, maybe you can. I don't know how you could put it on thicker, but I don't know why you would want to put it on thicker. This, I think that what I've done in detail is explain why you do not want to do sticker carpet sets, because I'm not even done. Now, I'm going to stop this update here because it's going on and on and on and on. Didn't expect to have to show all those details. Yeah, see how far I missed there? So what I'll do at this point, I am probably going to mix up a special color of dark brown, and I'm going to paint the bottom of that just to hide all those gaps, so that they won't be showing up so much. The one in between by the console isn't going to be showing because I don't even have that centerpiece in there yet. And I've test fitted that, and that doesn't fit exactly right, so I'm going to have to trim some off the edge there because it's running into this carpet, which is so thick that it's now misaligning that. So there's even more work to be done. But I will do it. I'm going to stick to it and get this carpet in here, and this will be the first time I do sticker carpet and the last time. Now these seats are all the way over already. They're already all the way touching, running into the threshold there. And I don't really have any room there, so that thick carpet is going to make up I'm probably going to end up, I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, I'll be covering that in the next update with this. So the interior update is going to be split into 2 updates because I haven't even gotten into any of the detailing or the dashboard or the door panels. But y'all been waiting, you've been asking for updates, some of you guys, and so I wanted to just show you where it's at. But it will be one more update on just the interior before we even get to the body. Great kit. Great kit. But if you're building this kit, I would strongly urge you not to use the sticker carpet set and just go with flocking. So that being said, stay tuned for update number 2, and then of course updates on all the other ones. And I appreciate you watching.